we were talking to him about, you met Kevin?
Yeah, we met.
Okay, yeah. About the Columbia, Murray County.
Yeah,
model
we worked on that one.
Yeah, you worked on that, so.
They're one of the,
Y'all got some exposure.
yeah.
Yes, Andrew Griffith called me. He's the one that called me.
Yeah. Yeah. Will that work?
Yeah, perfect, thank you. Just in case he.
But is this, some people want to use the way back here.
Because I would say that that's what you're gonna probably do.
Oh, is that in that?
Yeah, but I'd make them ask.
I was wondering if you were okay with all, I put this mic up here, just while y'all are listening, just in case. I wasn't sure if you were planning on.
Will that work?
Yeah, perfect, thank you. Just in case he.
But is this, some people want to use the way back here.
Because I would say that that's what you're gonna probably do.
Oh, is that in that?
Yeah, but I'd make them ask.
I was wondering if you were okay with all, I put this mic up here, just while y'all are listening, just in case. I wasn't sure if you were planning on.
Will that work?
Yeah, perfect, thank you. Just in case he.
But is this, some people want to use the way back here.
Because I would say that that's what you're gonna probably do.
Oh, is that in that?
Yeah, but I'd make them ask.
I was wondering if you were okay with all, I put this mic up here, just while y'all are listening, just in case. I wasn't sure if you were planning on.
Will that work?
Yeah, perfect, thank you. Just in case he.
But is this, some people want to use the way back here.
Because I would say that that's what you're gonna probably do.
Oh, is that in that?
Yeah, but I'd make them ask.
Anything you say now, they're gonna have you on. Good evening, everybody. It's good to see you out tonight. We want to welcome you to the Kickoff community meeting for the White County Parks and Recreation's master plan. Kind of give you a little background of why we're here and what we're here for. Again, I want to say thank you. My name is Jason Mcdonald, and I'm the chairman of the Parks and Recs Committee, also the chairman of the school board here in White County. We noticed a need for the Parks and Recs activities, our ball fields, our community centers, anything that you see as far as activity-wise, if whether it be see you out tonight, we want to welcome you to the Kickoff community meeting for the White County Parks and Recreation's master plan. Kind of give you a little background of. Are we good now? All right. There's two of me here, and that's kind of a scary thought. So, no, we noticed that there was a need for some upgrades to our facilities in White County, whether it be new disc golf or whether it be walking trails or greenways or boat launch ramps, anything that has to do with outdoor activities to get our community members out, to get them active, to get them interested in the natures and the beauties of White County. We have lived here. I learned something at our last meeting that I've been here 49 years and learned a couple of things about a couple of areas in White County I didn't know. So hopefully tonight you're going to see, and Mr. Gunther is going to come from Reagan and Smith and kind of explain to you what's going on as far as why this meeting is happening. We got a grant called the Healthy Build Grant. The Healthy Build Grant is a grant that we were awarded to put this program together to help introduce the community to our Parks and Recs department, so that we can, and we realize that without a master plan, we couldn't apply for other grants throughout the state, that there's several grants out there that we can apply for, but we have to have this master plan to kind of take an inventory of what we got in our community, what we have accessible in our community that the people can get to, from anything that I've mentioned before, from our kayak launch ramps to our state and natural areas, our state parks. So with that, we've hired Reagan Smith as our consulting firm to help us put this master plan together. And I'm going to turn the mic over now to Mr. Kevin Gunther from Reagan Smith. When he gets done with his presentation, we're going to let you guys come up, look at all the slides that are up here. There is a sign-in sheet on the communion table right here behind me. Please sign that when you go by, so we'll have a record of who was here. I promise we won't spam your email or nothing like that. We won't send a bunch of links, but we do just need a record of your attendance here tonight. So with that, Kevin, I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you. I'm actually going to go ahead and send this around so you can all sign in while I'm chatting here. We definitely want record of all the people that are here. That's important. That's part of the process we need to document. So just understand that it helps us kind of with our future efforts in terms of other grant applications, or making sure we're trying to catch as much as we can. All right, is that better? So, you know, we want to start the meeting by saying this. This is a process. This isn't the conclusion. This is really that first phase. There's really 3 major phases in the Park and Recreation Master Plan effort. And this is the inventory and analysis, and we want to hear from you. This isn't us coming and saying this is how it's going to be, or this is the conclusion. This is us coming to you and saying we want to hear what you're thinking. We want to get your feedback and make sure that we can incorporate that into the plan. So that's the first phase, is just inventorying what we have, getting feedback on what you'd like to see. Then we will come back with some recommendations, and there'll be another community engagement meeting that we'll have. I hope we can fill this up even more, so we're going to really try to get you to help us, you know, spread the word. That meeting will be pretty exciting because we'll be talking about some of the future things coming, so try to get as many people here as you can. And then that last part is going to be what we call the implementation phase. So once we've made our recommendations, once we've made sure that we've heard you and we've heard the county leadership, we are going to make sure that we're going to give you suggestions on how to implement the plan, because you want this to be something that moves forward. You want it to be something that's dynamic, gives you ideas about what's next. So those are the 3 main phases, and I said this is that first phase tonight. So what I'm going to talk about is basically the inventory we've gathered and a little bit of the map that we've created. Over here we have a section of images and ideas, and we really want you to give us feedback on what do you like about existing park facilities, but also what would you like in the future? Are there things you'd like to see that you don't have now? And then the third part of this is talking about some of the major opportunities and constraints that have kind of started to rise to the surface, and we want to get your feedback on that. So there's 3 things I really want you to do tonight. You can do more than those 3 things, but the first is sign that sheet. The second is give us a sticker on these boards over here. I'm going to give you 3 stickers. Green is the most important, blue is the second, yellow is the third, and we can help you at the station, you know, just to confirm that. And then I want you to put a sticker on that board over there, which is, what do you think are some of the most important ideas that are starting to come out of the plan? That way, there again, we make sure to get that feedback right from the start on what's important to you. Any questions about the process, what we're here for tonight, and kind of what will happen after tonight? Any questions on that? Okay, excellent. I'm going to move around, so I'm going to pull this mic off with me. So one of the things that's unique about Sparta County is you have a lot of natural areas, right? A lot of state parks. You have a lot of wildlife management areas. You've got beautiful scenic overlooks, caves, waterfalls and rivers. In fact, I've heard that this part of the country has more of those three things per square mile than almost anywhere in the country. So as we're looking at this map, we wanted to make sure to identify those things in addition to the park and recreation facilities that the county has. We also wanted to recognize the park and recreation facilities that the city has. Because even though we know that's not necessarily going to be completely within the county management, those are places that are contributing towards helping to meet park and recreation needs. I'm going to throw the same thing in for the YMCA, right? That's a wonderful facility that has a lot of programs. Same things can be said for the larger parks within the city. We've identified those with the understanding that there's going to be a need for a lot of partnership between the city, the county, and the state to meet the recreational needs of White County. So when you look at this map, you'll see there's kind of three categories, actually four. I forgot to mention the schools, because the schools are also identified here. A lot of times your school systems will have playgrounds or open fields that are open to the public use when school is not in session, and those are identified here as well. So this map has encompassed all those things, and then the map down here, this is a blow-up of Sparta so that you can look a little more closely at the parks that are all kind of gathered within the city limits. So what we need to do per National Park and Recreation Standards is we need to kind of inventory all these things, and then we're going to do a snapshot of how, say, White County kind of compares to some other places. A similar demographics, similar size. I always caution to say that that is not like a list of things that you have to do. Like you say, well, that county has so many more soccer fields than we do, so we need to match that. All that is just a very general snapshot to give you an idea what some of the other surrounding communities are doing. So that's going to be one source of our inventory. The other one is going to be meetings like this, where we really want to hear from you and get those stickers on the boards and get anything written down that's really important to you. I know there's a couple clubs here tonight that have some presentations that they've done specific to kind of the recreation that excites them. Give us that information. Let us get that processed into the plan so we make sure and think about some of those things that are going on that may not be on these charts or on these lists now. So that's the second way at these meetings. And then there's a third thing, and that is a digital online survey. And I would really encourage you to take that. I would encourage you to email that to all the people you know. Some people, don't feel real comfortable coming to a public meeting, getting up and speaking, or, maybe it's difficult for them to get here. So that's the third way that we really want to get your input. And don't feel like just because you're here tonight, you can't take the online survey. We really want both of those formats of input. There's a barcode on that sign-in sheet that will actually get you a link to the survey. We will be sending it out via email, and then do we know yet where it's going to be linked on the internet, or is that still to be determined?
We're going to try to use multiple venues.
Yeah, excellent.
Different Facebook pages and that type of stuff.
Okay.
So try to reach as many people.
So keep posted, I'm sure the YMCA, the County Chamber of Commerce, even, organizations that, or places like this church, if they can put that on their Facebook page, all of a sudden that links us to a lot of people. We want to get as many of those surveys filled out as we can. Won't take you too long. It's like a 12-question survey, but it's multiple choice. I always like multiple choice tests, right? Just pick your dot. So any questions about how to get feedback to us during this process? Does everybody understand what those different venues are that we're going to measure? Okay, excellent. At any time, this is informal tonight, so if you have a question at any time, feel free to just pose that question and I'll make sure we answer it. So as I said, we've got the White County facilities, and what we've recognized is that you have kind of your crown jewel, which is your White County Recreational Complex on Route 70. And that is your biggest park. That is the park that you have some existing athletic facilities at. You've got some bike trails. There's a playground that was recently put in with the diabetes grant. So this is certainly going to be a key feature, not only for facilities that are in place now, but we see it as an important place you can add more programs and more opportunities to, because it's a large piece of property. It still has room to grow. Part of what this map does, you'll see the color on here, it identifies where you have most people living and working and playing, because that's typically where you want your parks. So you'll see there's these, little colored dots kind of through the candy, but nothing's that bright or intense. And all of a sudden you get to Sparta, and that's where, of course, your population goes up, your jobs are increased there. It's a place of commerce. So the good news is that when you add the city parks to this equation, you're covering a pretty good need when it comes to where your major population is. I think one of the things we also recognize is that the state parks, places like Rock Island, Foster Falls, and some of the Fall Creek Falls and wildlife management areas, they kind of anchor the corners of your county, which is interesting because that provides a whole other different type of recreation there. So when you kind of do the squint test, I call it, when you look at where the heat is on this map and where the existing parks are on the map, you got a pretty good distribution. Although what I would suggest is that if you look at some of the gaps in between, or if you start thinking about ways like this park could start to serve more of the county, there's definitely a need for more and continued growth as your county grows. So any questions about these maps, and I welcome you to come up and kind of locate where you live and where you kind of do your day-to-day experience if you want to see kind of where the parks are relative to that. There might be some parks in here you didn't even know exist. So what I get excited about is when we go through this process, people oftentimes will look and see they didn't know that, say, Mitchell Ford Kayak and Canoe Launch, is actually a county-owned facility. If you haven't been down there, you need to visit it. It's gorgeous. It gets you access to the river, great place for a little picnic. You're close to WMA property if you want to go hiking, or if you're out there already hunting. And that's a facility maybe not everybody knows about. So that's the kind of thing I encourage people to come up and look at the map. So the other thing we do in addition, just inventorying what you have and checking off the boxes, we look at what kind of experiences you're having in your parks. Because going to a park isn't just about, okay, there's a basketball court there, there's a tennis court there. It's about what kind of experiences can you have while you're there. And so we really want to see a good cross-section of active use. That's like things like softball and baseball, football, soccer, and then what are maybe more some what we call the passive uses. Things like hiking and picnicking and just maybe wildlife watching. You want to have a mix of educational and historic parts of your parks. That's also really important. So you've got some of those. And, we've included the White County History Museum in that. How many of you have been to the History Museum? Just show me a quick. So that's another place, if you haven't been there, it's worth checking out. There's a lot of really neat local history in there. The county owns it. They're helping to manage it. It's right in Sparta. And then the other thing is health, okay? Are we making sure that we are getting health activities in our parks? Because, in fact, this grant was really facilitated through the Department of Health because they realize how important that link is between health and recreation and getting out into an outdoor environment. So you've got some good boxes checked there to play-centered parks, pet parks, that's become very common. I heard somebody say that they're really upset because everybody always puts in dog parks, but nobody puts in cat parks. But we haven't figured out how to design a cat park yet, so if any of you have some ideas, you could let us know. Social entertainment, where are there places that you can, have community events or farmers market or those kind of things. And then the last is, every community needs what we kind of call flex space, big open spaces where you can do, fly a kite, throw a frisbee, walk your dog, get out and socialize. So there again, the good news is that, as we did that quick evaluation, White County, if you consider all the different types of things you have a pretty good mix. So what I'd suggest is you want to make sure that that continues. You want to see more and more programs and more opportunities for all ages, all levels of activity to continue to be part of your park system. So the last thing I'm going to touch on is kind of what are some of the things that have risen to the surface as we've just started to do our analysis, and we've looked at all the parks that you have, and we talked to some of the stakeholders and some of the community leaders, and these are what we call our opportunities and challenges kind of that are rising. Not that these are the only ones or that they are going to be the final conclusions, but I really want to get your feedback on which one of these you think is the most important. And I'm going to give you stickers on this board too. So number one, connecting to the outdoor recreation. We talked about that, all the natural areas you have, all the outdoor kayaking, hiking, biking, just even going out wildlife watching. Making parks and recreation a part of your tourism. I know that we've talked a lot with your Chamber of Commerce about wonderful opportunities to actually draw people in, have them spend some time and some money. Number three, we talked about that county facility. How do you expand more programs, more types of facilities that accommodate the whole age range? That doesn't happen just necessarily at White County Recreation, but that's kind of, like I said, your hub or your flagship. Number four, leveraging partnerships. So this is really talking about places like the YMCA. They provide such a wonderful venue. And that helps the county and it helps your community. And what you want to do is make sure you're working in tandem with people like the YMCA. We talked about the geography. There's some areas of the county that you got a long way to drive or a long way to travel before you have any access to recreation. That might be a main concern. And then because you have so many volunteers, because you have so many partnerships, like any clubs that you have going on, I think the club that maintains the bike trail out at the county park would be an example. They've kind of set that up. They're helping to maintain it. These are volunteers you want to make sure you integrate into your plan. And there might even be opportunities to do more training and more cross-training between those groups and some of your county and Chamber of Commerce representatives. So these challenges really break down into, here again, making sure that we have recreation that covers all ages and all different abilities. You've got some nice facilities. The old WCMS property has 10 acres on it, has a building on it, but it's outdated and it's really kind of, it's a diamond in the rough, kind of waiting for some investment. So aging and outdated facilities, making sure that you want to keep your residents here in the county that grew up here, that go to school here, but you also want people that visit to come back. Parks are one of the best ways to do that. People are always looking for what are the parks that I can go to, what are the experiences I can have. We mentioned the distance and the travel time might be a challenge. We got to make sure that you continue to fund not only brand new parks and new things coming in, but operations and maintenance, that constantly goes up. So every time you add a program, every time you add a park or something that's going on, you got to have more money to operate and maintain it. And then the last one is that partnerships between government agencies. As I mentioned, the city, the county, and the state all have some real important attributes towards your recreation system, and you need to make sure there's a collaboration and a partnership to meet all the residents of the county, the people that live and visit here. So there's a lot of good stuff going on here. You have a pretty neat place to recreate here in White County. So any questions about all that I just covered? Any thoughts? Is this kind of getting some light bulbs going on, or hopefully creative juices going? And no, I was told that we'd have some pretty hard questions tonight, so I'm waiting for that to happen. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to repeat your question to make sure I've heard you right. You were talking about South Carter Park, which is a city park, and your question was, is there a way to maybe increase some of the lighting and some of the safety concerns that people might have in the park? Is that? Yeah, actually, so your point was the more people that are in a park using it, the safer a park usually is, and that's very true. So I know when we visited that park, and every time I've driven by it, it seems like it's a well-loved park. There's a fair number of people. But to your point, part of the way to help, there's a couple ways that, help with safety. And make sure you fill out the survey online, because that's one of the specific questions. It's like, how safe do you feel? And if you don't feel safe, why? So we can specifically know why it is you may need to improve safety. But in addition to lights, in addition to fences where they need to be, in addition to signage, just having the park real active and having volunteers who identify with that space is a huge plus, to addressing any safety. Any other questions about this material kind of before we get into like more of an open house setting? Did you have any thoughts, Michael?
Yeah, just real quick on that last comment too. I think that particular park is another one that has potential to continue to grow and expand programming or expand the greenway in different directions. So that'd be another thing that would just generate more interest. And then I'm not sure if we've got it addressed on any of our boards tonight, but signage and sort of promoting the park spaces that are available to people is another thing that we'll usually incorporate into our plan. So if you've got input where you feel like, hey, this is a great park, but no one really realizes it's there, and I think that park has that challenge a little bit. It's got great solitude because it's kind of tucked down below the roadway, but if you're just passing through town, you might not know it was there. So some signage and wayfinding throughout town might be one of the other areas that we'd love to hear some input on. Okay, thank you. So what I'd like, has everybody signed in the sign-in sheet? Does anybody still need that hasn't signed that? And if you haven't, I'm going to leave it up here so we make sure to capture everybody. Did everybody hear me about the digital survey that's going to be online? It'll be linked to different churches, different recreational facilities, so look for that. And I think some email blasts will probably be going out. What we're going to do is if you're on this list and you give me your email, we can make sure to email you that link, and then you can send it out to all the people that you know as well. So, and once again, what we're going to do is we'll give you each 3 stickers. Every person in here is going to get 3 stickers to put on these boards. I'm going to give you a green, a blue, and a yellow. Green is the most valuable. Everything's valuable here, but then blue is kind of the second, yellow is the third. We're going to do the same thing over here. I'll be at these boards taking stickers on these bigger ideas, and then Matt's going to be in the middle if there's specific questions you have about existing parks,
different things that are going on in these parks. He's done a really good job of pulling together all that data and that information. And I encourage you to look at that, even if you don't have any immediate questions. You might be kind of encouraged by what you see there. So very good. We'll keep the Facebook post going, but it might be hard to catch the sidebar conversations. But certainly, there's going to be another one of these meetings. So people that are watching this or see it on Facebook, we want to make sure that they know that there's another chance to come back and give us more information. So anything that the park committee or anybody from the county or...
I was just going to mention there's been a few folks come in since we started, just as a reminder of what we were actually doing tonight. We got a grant from the state of Tennessee Department of Health. It's a Healthy Built Environment Grant. It's a non-matching grant, doesn't cost the county any money, to develop a system-wide master plan for Parks and Rec in the county. So one of the challenges that we faced in years past is we try to do things, we try to make improvements. It's hard to make any progress without a real plan. And then the other real challenge is that many of the grants that are available to apply for, you're not eligible to be considered for that grant if you don't have this system-wide master plan in place. So we have secured the services of Reagan Smith. Kevin Gunther and his team are helping us to develop that system-wide master plan at this point. And so tonight, this is the first public engagement meeting where we're just trying to get some input because none of this is any good if it's just a handful of us developing it and putting it together. We need to know what things are important to the county. And when we come out of it, what we hope to have is a plan that we can work off years going forward that will take Parks and Rec in White County where we want it to be. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. So make sure coming up, like I said, I don't want anybody going out those doors until you put your stickers on the board. And we'll be here for, meeting goes to 7 if you want to stay that late, or if you know somebody that maybe is caught in traffic or had a long way to come, encouraging them, still come and give some input because we'll be here for a little while. So come on up and tell us more.